Alright, let's look at the section 4.3. This section talks about proofs involving real numbers. Alright, let's actually dive right into an example. Alright, so here, r is a real number. Alright, if absolute value of r minus 1 is less than 1, then 4 over r times quantity 4 minus r is greater than or equal to 1. Alright, let's try to get some idea by doing a little bit of scratch work. Alright, so here's the hypothesis. Alright, absolute value of r minus 1 is less than 1. Alright, so this is equivalent of saying so in order to get rid of absolute value sign, so we know that the quantity r minus 1 is between negative 1 and a positive 1, because absolute value is between absolute value is 1 less than 1, so it's got to be between negative 1 and a positive 1. Right, then we can just simply add 1 to each term. Add 1, so 0. Add 1 so that the r is isolated, and add 1 to 1, so it's going to be 2. Right, so what the hypothesis is telling us is that the r is always between 0 and 2. Alright, that's probably useful to know. Alright, then let's look at the conclusion. Alright, so what do we need to get at the end? So it's a 4 over r times quantity 4 minus r is greater than or equal to 1. Alright, this is equivalent of saying, alright, I don't like fraction, so I'm going to multiply by r times quantity 4 minus r. Right? But we know that since r is between 0 and 2, r is obviously positive, and 4 minus r is going to be positive because r is between 0 and 2. Right? So when you multiply both sides of inequality by a positive value, we do not have to change the direction of the inequality. So you will get simply 4 is greater than or equal to r times 4 minus r, right? Which is same thing as 4r, just multiply out, minus r squared. Right? Then I would like to put all the terms on the left hand side, so I'm gonna just simply add r squared and subtract 4r, right? So you will get r squared minus 4r. Then you already have 4, so plus 4, right? Since we put everything on the left, so what nothing is left, so it's greater than equal to 0. All right. Then we notice that here you have we can complete the square. So you have r minus 2 squared is greater than or equal to 0. Alright, which is nice because we already know that this is a true statement. So all you have to do is kind of go backward on this to conclude that, to make this conclusion that we want. Alright, so this is a scratch work, and I'm going to write the actual proof. Alright, so here, I'm going to start with assume the hypothesis. So assume that absolute value of r minus 1 is less than 1, right? Which implies that r minus 1 is between negative 1 and a positive 1, right? Which implies that r is between 0 and 2, right? So we can say that. All right. Then also we know for sure, so we know that here quantity r minus 2 squared is greater than or equal to 0, right? So we know that because we are only dealing with real numbers, so something square is never negative, so it's greater than or equal to 0. So we know that this inequality is always true, right? And this implies that, right? So you kind of go backward on this, so you have just multiply out. You get r squared minus 4r plus 4 is greater than or equal to 0. All right, then what we want is I'm going to subtract r squared and add 4r, right? That way we can get 4 is greater than or equal to, let's see, 4r minus r squared, which is exactly the same thing as r times 4 minus r, right? All right, then this is a key step here. I'm going to divide both sides of the inequality by r times 4 minus r, right? Then when you divide by a negative number, we have to change the direction of the inequality. But in this case, we do not have to worry about it because r is between 0 and 2, so it's positive. 4 minus r is also positive. So we are dividing by a positive number. So therefore, we know that it's 4 divided by r times quantity 4 minus r, right, is greater than or equal to, so the same direction, divide this by itself, you get 1, right? So we can do that knowing that the note that r times 4 minus r is positive, right? All right, then we're finished. We started out with something we already know. That's true. Then which implies this is just multiplying out, so it's the same thing. And here this is just the rearranging terms, right? Here we divide both sides of the inequality by r times quantity 4 minus r, which gets us exactly the conclusion we want to make. But you have to make sure that we can do this, so that without changing the direction of the inequality, because r times quantity 4 minus r is always positive because r is only between 0 and 2, right? So this is the end of the proof, right? That's it. I hope that this was clear. So uh, scratch work is just a scratch work. So the proof is just this part right here, right? Scratch work is there to help you make an argument, right? That's it. I hope that this was clear.